People don't accept less because they don't know any better. They accept less because resisting became expensive. That's the part most explanations miss. When standards disappear, it's easy to assume people lowered them willingly, that they became careless, lazy, uncommitted. But historically, that's almost never how it happens. People don't abandon standards first, they abandon resistance, because resistance costs energy, and energy becomes scarce in unstable systems. To understand why people accept things now that would have been unacceptable before, you have to understand pressure, not moral pressure, psychological pressure changes behavior long before it changes values. Throughout history, whenever life becomes unpredictable, prioritize reducing friction, not improving quality. Reducing friction, that means fewer confrontations, fewer hard decisions, fewer moments where something has to be addressed, because addressing things requires stability. You don't know what tomorrow looks like. Avoid creating tension. Today's is how tolerance quietly replaces standards, not because standards were wrong, but because enforcing them became exhausting. Modern life runs on constant exposure to many options, too many comparisons, to many input. Brain adapts by lowering sensitivity psychologically. This is called desensitization. When everything demands attention, attention loses value. When everything feels urgent, nothing feels important. So people narrow their emotional range. They stop reacting strongly, not because they don't care, because caring about everything is unsustainable. This is why red flags don't shock people anymore. They've seen too many of them. When exposure increases, response decreases. This isn't weakness, it's adaptation. Same thing happens in environments with chronic stress. The nervous system learns to conserve energy. One of the first things it cuts back on is enforcement. Enforcing standards requires confrontation. Confrontation triggers stress compounds. So people let things slide, not once, not consciously, gradually. Then there's choice. Modern culture celebrates unlimited choice, but psychologically unlimited choice doesn't create freedom, creates paralysis. When everything is an option, commitment feels dangerous, because commitment means closing doors. When people already feel uncertain, closing doors feels like risk. So instead, they stay flexible. They avoid defining things. They avoid expectations. They avoid labels, not because they don't want meaning, but because meaning requires limitation. Historically, roles were clearer, not better in every way, but clearer. Clarity reduces cognitive load. You didn't have to negotiate every interaction. Standards were shared. Now clarity is rare. Everything is customizable, negotiable, contextual. That sounds empowering, but it means every relationship, every agreement, every expectation is to be built from scratch. Building from scratch is tiring, so people simplify. They reduce expectations, because expectations create responsibility. Feels heavy in a world where nothing feels stable. This is why people accept low effort, not because they like it, but because demanding effort means risking disappointment. Lower expectations are emotional armor. If you expect less, you hurt less. In a culture where people are constantly overstimulated and under anchored, emotional armor becomes survival gear. There also social proof. Humans calibrate behavior by watching others. If everyone around you tolerates inconsistency, it out makes you feel difficult. If everyone accepts distraction, asking for presence makes you feel demanding. If everyone avoids commitment, texting clarity makes you feel outdated. So people self-police. They lower their standards internally before expressing them externally, not because they believe less is better, but because being the exception is costly. Being the one who says this isn't enough means standing alone. Isolation is one of the strongest psychological deterrents we have. So people blend, they adapt, they normalize. There's also the narrative shift. Language shapes behavior over time. Language softened the meaning of absence. Avoidance became boundaries, and consistency became healing, and commitment became growth. These words aren't bad, but when they're used to avoid accountability, reframe standards as harm psychologically. No one wants to feel harmful, so people stop asking, they stop pressing. They stop expecting, because expecting now risks being labeled insensitive. This creates a culture where standards are present, but unspoken. People still feel them internally. They still notice when something is missing, they just don't voice it. When something isn't voiced, it loses social power. Eventually, it disappears. Practice, there's another layer most people don't talk about: hope. Keep standards alive. If you believe effort will be returned, you give effort. If you believe commitment leads somewhere, you commit. But when people repeatedly invest and receive little back, hope erodes. When hope erodes, standards feel naive, not wrong. Naive, so people become pragmatic. They stop asking for depth. They stop expecting consistency. They stop believing clarity will come, not because they don't want those things, but because wanting them feels unrealistic. This is how acceptance forms, not out of agreement, but out of resignation. Historically, this happens in any system where effort isn't reliably rewarded. People stop trying to optimize for quality and start optimizing for safety. Safety from disappointment, safety from rejection, safety from wasted energy. Safety looks like flexibility, looks like going with the flow, it looks like not taking things too seriously. But long term, it produces emptiness, because humans don't thrive on safety alone, they thrive on meaning. Meaning requires standards. The tragedy isn't that people accepted less, it's that they did it quietly without realizing what they were trading away. They traded clarity for comfort, stability for option, for ease. None of those trades feel bad. In the moment they feel reasonable, necessary. Even that's why this is hard to reverse. Nothing feels obviously broken, it just feels thinner, less grounded, less intentional. When everyone adapts at the same time, adaptation feels like truth, but normalization doesn't mean something is healthy, it means enough people disadapt. Cost of resisting was higher than the cost of accepting. This isn't about blame, it's about understanding. Once you understand why people accept less, you stop being confused by it. Clarity is the first step toward choice, not reaction. Choice